highest peak of the Columbia Tower.
My name is Joe Winkelman.
This Army veteran shared the lowest point of his life.
That sometimes things just aren't as they appear.
What you see
I was part of an elite team.
is a confident and outgoing man talking to a room full of people about his decade-long service to this country as an Apache pilot.
I was somebody.
4 tours in Iraq and 1 in Afghanistan.
The helicopter is so unique, so advanced.
For Joe Winkelman and many other veterans, the terror of war takes on a different form when they come back home.
I started to unravel.
Joe says he felt out of place in society and unable to connect with his family.
And I would just cry at night, not knowing who I am, not realizing I was more than an Apache.
When he was stripped of his identity as an Apache pilot, Joe says he felt so numb, so lost, he started cutting himself. And back in 2016, he tried to end his life.
I just know that I woke up with a lot of wounds on my wrist.
He's grateful he survived, but he could have been a statistic. According to this year's report of the latest data available, the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs says on average, 17 veterans die by suicide every single day. Joe says he's personally lost 4 veteran friends to suicide.
Those are like good friends, people that were in my unit. Come here, you.
Army vet Gary Cashman doesn't know Joe, but he can relate.
Next thing you know, you have a gun in your mouth. Felt pretty much alone, isolated, not worth it.
Gary attempted suicide just last year.
When he feels me get a little bit anxious, he feels me get kind of ramped up a little bit, you can kind of sense it.
He says in the last decade, he's lost 9 military friends to suicide.
You lock everything up, you don't share things, you put on that face. But then when you get out, you don't know how to take it off either. You still put it on because it is part of your identity.
There is that word identity again.
Nation's wars now today are fought with 1%, less than 1% of our population. It's no wonder people come home and go, people don't understand me, I don't know who I am, and I don't know what to do.
Mike Schindler with Operation Military Family Cares says there are various reasons why veterans are resorting to suicide. But Mike says a common theme is a loss of purpose coupled with an inability to express their inner demons.
100%, there's a lot of people that are suffering behind closed doors.
Before their suicide attempts, both of these men were drowning alone in their own thoughts.
Every time I talk, I learn something new about something that might have happened I didn't think about a certain way.
So how did they get through it? Both Gary and Joe say big breakthroughs came with small steps. Something as simple as eating healthier, they say, did amazing things for their mental state.
Definitely a diet change helped. Nutrition and eating better and making sure you're drinking your water.
Joe says he also started to study himself.
It's creating and finding mentors. It's learning and being curious about yourself.
And realizing their identity is more than one thing.
Your identity doesn't belong to something that you've done or something you've accomplished.
So now,
how do I want to exist in this new world of mine?
Joe stands here a proud veteran, but also someone who is constantly evolving.
I'm a person with a big heart who wants to help people realize that they matter in this world.
Just an eye-opening interview there. Joe says he's learned a lot about himself through doing different activities. He's done everything from woodworking, painting, learning how to play the guitar. He's also taking classes at the University of Washington right now. His goal is to find new passions and a purpose in life beyond the military.
Wow. So many of us can relate to that, though, because it comes down to self-care, right? Whether you're civilian or you're military, it's just self-care.
Things that we take for granted, right? If there are any veterans that are watching, first off, thank you for your service from the bottom of our hearts. But if they're feeling isolated, I'm going to assume here that the message is that they're just not alone, right?
Yes, they're so not alone. I know they feel that way, but there are many organizations and new ones popping up with veterans at the center of their focus. For example, that room full of people we showed you earlier that Joe was talking to was possible because of the Columbia Tower Club. And this club recently formed a new committee to help veterans. So take a listen.
Within our community, there are different organizations out there that are interested in helping, interested in engaging, and also interested in hearing your story.
And I know that it can be hard for veterans to share their pain because, as vet Gary Cashman told me, in the military community, asking for help is looked upon as showing weakness. So there is that stigma, but he says, look, forget that stigma, because he says it's amazing what kind of doors will open for you once you open up to others. Yeah, so if they want any more information, you guys, really important to know. I want to leave you with the organizations that are listed on our website. If they want to, find where they can go for help, all of that is listed on Q13fox.com.
There's a lot of help out there,
Absolutely.
too. All right, Hannah, thank you. Well, news tonight, Seattle